Coming up on this episode of Outlook TV, Oceane Aqua Black in Montreal.
Vancouver International Film Festival 2022.
UBC Drag at Koener's Pub. And much, much more. Hello and welcome to Outlook TV. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Angus Pratt. We would like to thank and acknowledge the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations and surrounding nations for the privilege of filming this episode on their traditional unceded grounds.
Outlook TV is the queer news magazine show that brings you the stories that matter the most from coast to coast. And we're going to kick it off in Montreal, checking out some more Pride happenings.
Well, at Outlook TV, it's me, Ollie, and I'm here at Place Émilie Gamelin in Montreal, where Canada's Drag Race royalty, Oceane Aqua Black, is about to take the stage. We spoke with Oceane in her hotel room right before her performance to see what this show is all about.
Performing at the Partie de Cuisine de Samy Landry. I don't know if you know who, of course you know who he is because he's famous, but I'm really excited. I met him yesterday. He is a joy to work with. I'm doing a set of 3 songs, so I'm really excited about it.
What is the concept of this show?
It's Sammy inviting people to his kitchen, and it's just a family party, like something to kiki together and have fun and, enjoy the moment.
How did you get started in drag?
It was actually a joke. I was with some friends at the drag club in Quebec City. That's the main club there is. And the artistic director at the time, she was called Réglisse, and she saw me dance on the dance floor with some friends. She says, you should try that. And at first, because I'm from a very conservative place, people, for me, doing drag was like, oh, I don't want to be a girl. You know what I mean? But things got out of hand, if we can say it like that. And one time I did say, I'm gonna do it. So I drank a lot of booze, and basically I wanted just to have fun and, kicking and everything. But the crowd response was so good that they asked me to come back the next week, and I was saying, well, if I'm made for this, why not? And then just one thing led to another, and now it's been 18 years.
You haven't already? You kept your legs closed all these years. Let me introduce you to my boy, Joey.
My first single was out this year in February. It's called Cream Pie. This is a silly song, just by the title you can tell. This is crazy. I love it. Because it was the first video, I wanted to have, of course, a little cameo from Suki Doll that was on the season with me, because she's one of my favorite sister of the season with Isis. So I said, you are in the video with me, of course. And I have male models. I had dancer with Hollywood Jade. Hollywood Jade, that was on my season. On the episode that I went home, I said, I want him because I know that it's gonna work his butt off to elevate me.
Will be your master. Kneel before your mighty superior. On your knees, on your back, on your stomach.
I write all of my songs because it's important to me, because I want people to experience me and not the work of another person. July 1st, my second single called Reddit is out now. And my full album actually will become available on next March for spring 2023. You're gonna have a great time listening to this.
We're busy here. We're cooking here.
With So Fierce Music that I'm now associated with, it's a joy to work with Velvet Code. All of my tracks are produced by So Fierce Music, actually. So I'm sticking with them. This is so great.
Go feed my goat now and just come back next weekend for a good old-fashioned.
Make sure that you stream Oceane's music online. For Outlook TV, this is Ollie in Montreal.
We're headed off to Regina now for the Coronation, where the theme was An Evening at Shady Pines.
Yes, and they're celebrating 32 years of community service in Regina and all of Saskatchewan, where 2 empresses served at the same time.
We are in Regina for Coronation 32, an evening at Shady Pines. And how fitting that we're in a city that's named after a queen. So get ready for all the pomp and pageantry that is Coronation.
We have some amazing performers from across Canada, as we all are aware, that we have people from that have meant a lot to us in the prairies it's a college year, so there is a lot of us who are collectively stepping down. And so really what we're going to see is at the end of a lot of eras.
So yeah, I was the actual founder of the organization. We started in 1992. We had Calgary, Alberta was our mother court, so we had certain criteria that we had to accomplish. But we had the support of the city, which was amazing, and it's been going strong now for 32 years.
So what were your nonprofits this year?
We have Lulu's Lodge, Pride Saskatchewan for our bursary fund, and also we sponsor a bed at the palliative care unit. A lot of our patrons and members were hit with AIDS during the AIDS epidemic, so they were actually on that unit. So we dedicated a lot of money to them every year, and we have a room that's dedicated to the folks that are on that unit.
First time I've ever coordinated a ball before, and it was running with the seat of your pants, trying to figure it all out. But everything turned out pretty fantastic thanks to the amazing team here at the Doubletree by Hilton in Regina, as well as my cohorts here, and What's It To Ya and A Damn Good Time, who really were key essential players to making this weekend happen.
So thank you for everything that the sisters do, because really in the end...
And you are Anita's half-empress. What does a half-empress do?
Well, as a half-empress, I live outside of Regina, Saskatchewan. I live in Edmonton, and I'm a part of the ISCWR, the Imperial Sovereign Court of All Rose. So while I'm living in Edmonton, I am, I'm an ambassador for Regina and Saskatchewan, and I go to different shows, whatever, and I represent this city with dignity and grace.
What really keeps me coming back after the past 12 years, it truly is the family dynamic, because when you're part of the international court system, it truly is a chosen family, no matter what city you're from. Your family is in so many different cities. You always come back because you always want more. Aspirants to the throne who are going to succeed us. We have our Imperial Crown Princess, Juicy Fruit, along with my past princess of last year, Princess 30, Olive Pitt, which is really exciting because this is our first same-sex pairing. Well, really, the destruction of the binary, the norms, just making it what we want it to be instead of what people say it should be.
Empress 32, Juicy Fruit, and Empress 32, Olive Pitt.
In Regina, Saskatchewan, my name is Empress Fancy Pants for Outlook TV.
And it's time for us to take a little break.
We got to go celebrate some of this fabulous weather we're having here in Vancouver.
My name is Liam Hart. I am the producer of UBC Drag, and you are watching Outlook TV.
I'm Mix Buckaroo. I'm a drag performer, and honey, you're watching Outlook TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
And this time we're going to UBC for a drag show, and our new reporter, Elliot, is going to show us what it's all about.
As the new school year begins, students here at UBC are making their way back to classes and to the bar for the university's only on-campus drag show. Join me here at Koener's Pub as we check out the now weekly UBC Drag Show.
We started about a year ago now. I had always had the dream of having a kind of queer nightlife space on campus, having a drag show. And my dream was to have it before COVID really came in and started. I had plans to have a show, like it was almost going to happen, and then everything got canceled. When things came back online just before I was about to graduate, I figured now was like my chance to get everything to happen.
Well, Artivism is an annual event, and it's obviously, well, maybe not, arts plus activism, and each year a student picks a new theme, and this year it's politics of the body, and it highlights marginalized voices and brings forth the intersections of all these voices that we don't hear from nearly often enough. And I love this evening because what Drag UBC has brought out is really bringing queer nightlife to more than just like a two-night event per year, to something consistent.
Existing as like a plus size person in the queer scene means that we are so constantly shoved down images of thin, white, like gay people as the standard. So I love, and I know that plus size audiences love seeing me because like I take my clothes off, I shake my belly, like I grab it because every single inch of me is sexy, is like worthy of love and affection even when I'm like not taking my clothes off. So artivism, like body politic, is just like really important, I think, for the queer community.
I've been around since the first UBC Drag. So, Liam and I have been friends since I was in either my first or second year. I'm a fourth year student now, so I've been involved since the very beginning of UBC Drag. I think the theme was kind of sprung upon us, and that, like, as queer and trans people, I'm queer and trans, but we're really used to having things sprung on us from outside places. So I'm really just here to perform because I think, like, existing as a trans person, just in public, in any sort of space, is a political action in and of itself. So I don't really want to change what I'm doing to be more or less political. Having queer nightlife here at UBC as a queer student is really important to me because I feel like I have an active role in creating a friendlier space for people like me. We really aren't welcome in institutions like this one, but feeling like I have an active role in making this university a little bit queer is just a dream come true for me.
The thing about UBC is that there's nightlife every night of the week. There's always a party you can go to, there's always an event, but for queer nightlife, there's maybe something once a year, and even when there is, it's not like the most funded thing. For a school with, 60,000 students, there needs to be more queer events for them. So you can follow us at UBC Drag for weekly nightlife.
From Koener's Pub on UBC campus, I'm Elliot Walker for Outlook TV.
Next up, we're going to Toronto, where our reporter Bruno is going to interview Barrie Wentzell.
Queer ally and veteran photographer from the 60s and 70s.
And he's got some pictures of Elton John and Freddie Mercury and more.
Hello, Canada and beyond. Today I'm speaking with veteran photographer Barrie Wentzell about the music scene in London, England in the 60s and 70s. Was it queer? Who was queer? What is queer? Let's talk to Barrie and find out what was going on.
I was a photographer during the 60s and 70s in England for a rock and roll paper, and I retired, but I'm back looking at all these old pictures from 50 or 60 years back, and suddenly the past is present again. I've been living in the country. I was at art school, which was like the default place where all the reprobates and bums went, and then we moved to London, and I got a job in Greek Street, Soho, of all places. The artist there was Mr. Quentin Crisp, who was then very much an unknown, but later became the Naked Civil Servant, and Sting wrote a song about him. 10 years later, I'm photographing Elton John and a load of other characters, and I'd seen all this before. I mean, people walking around the streets in the 60s in dresses, guys, and fashion was universal. The Kinks had written a song about Lola, and it didn't seem to matter. We're all part of, it didn't matter what you were, so long as you were you, an individual, and having fun. I went to a gig in Hammersmith Odeon, and Queen were playing. I'd heard some of their music before, and I was really impressed, and our editor thought of having Freddie Mercury on the front page. So he came by the studio, and we shared a bottle of whiskey because he was a bit sort of stiff, and we did some silly pictures and had fun, and said bye, and that was it. A guy called Ray Williams, who was working for Dick James Music, and he said, "Here, we've got this singer, piano player, writes songs and all that. We don't quite know what to do with him. Can we send him around and do a few snaps?" I went, "Yeah, sure." And I think the next day I was expecting the tax man. So the door goes, and I went, oh, hey, welcome. Chap with slightly long hair, herringbone coat, and a briefcase. I went, "Oh, you're the tax man?" He said, No, I'm here to be photographed. I went, "Oh, I'm Elton John." I went, "Oh, come on in," blah, blah, blah. We do a few snaps, and he's a bit sort of wooden, and I took him around Soho Square, and he sat on a bench with a gentleman at the road who was eating his lunch at sandwiches looking at him. Record company said, yeah, nice picture is that. Send him around again, because it had just snowed. Because I thought, well, if you've got somebody who doesn't really do much, put them in an interesting setting. So we did that, Pictures on the Hill, which he used on a Border song poster, I think. About a half year later, he's on stage jumping up and down on the piano like Beyond Liberace and Jerry Lee Lewis. And I said, what happened? He said, well, I was in the Troubadour in the States and his first tour, and suddenly I just had to let go, and I was playing Crocodile Rock or something, and I just really got into it, and I just let go, and I went, fantastic, that's great. From the scared sort of to doing that and being, it was wonderful to see. I mean, we all have to work together and get on with each other. Be nice, come on. Love your brothers, smile on them.
Wow, pretty amazing stuff. From Quentin Crisp to the birth of Ziggy Stardust, Sir Elton John, Freddie Mercury and Queen, men running around London in dresses. Barrie Wentzell was there documenting the queerness of it all. Thank you, Barrie. For Outlook TV, I'm Bruno, coming to you from Toronto.
And right now we're going to take a little break.
I gotta check in with Angus about where he got that suit. It's sharp. Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
Next up, we're going to the Vancouver International Film Festival, where I had the chance to interview the artistic director and one of the filmmakers. The 41st Annual Vancouver International Film Festival is in full swing right now, and today we're going to speak to the programming director and one of the featured filmmakers to find out what's going on for 2022.
We are a very special woman with big hands.
41 years as of this year. Our festival plays a wide range of cinema. About 2/3 of the program is narrative, the remainder documentary. We also have an extensive showcase of short films. This year's festival will be 135 features and 100 shorts. Almost half the films in the features side of things will be at least Canadian premieres, so Vancouver audiences will be the first people in Canada to see those films.
You recognize yourself as a sinner? I do. Have you repented of your sins?
This includes selection of LGBT or queer interest films.
I think it's actually a really exceptional year in this regard. There's some filmmakers like Joseph Amenta. We played their short films for many years now, but they have their first feature called Soft at the festival this year, following 3 queer adolescents in Toronto, and really is a beautiful coming-of-age story in that milieu. I know Joseph did a lot of work with trans women in Toronto as well to make sure to honor their stories. Something You Said Last Night by Luis De Filippis recently won the Changemaker Award at TIFF, and that's another really beautifully realized story of a family vacation, but a woman who's 20 years old, trans woman, kind of on vacation with her family, trying to exert her own independence, but has just lost her job and is suddenly finding herself in a position where she may be more dependent on her family than she's been in some time, and really intimate, but yet beautifully realized. Jason Carman, a Vancouver filmmaker, has a film called Golden Delicious, all set in East Vancouver. I think both a coming-of-age and coming-out story, but very rooted in the landscape and the culture of this city as well, which is impressive to see. And When Time Got Louder by Connie Kokia is a film about based on her own experiences coming out as a queer woman, and also growing up with a sibling who was living with autism, and the desire for independence, but also knowing that you have a sibling that you have this incredibly tight bond with. And those are just a few examples, I should say. There's many more if you look at the short films as well and features.
My film, I See Me Watching, that is in VIFF this year, it's supposed to be a representation of my personal struggle with gender identity, identity more as a whole, but the plot and the plot points were formed based off my struggle with gender identity. I made it at a time where I was sort of having a really hard time understanding myself, and really wanted to use the film as a way to sort of like look at myself from a detached point of view. In the film you see like the effects that I use and everything. It's trying to visualize the POV characters' emotions. So you're really sort of like immersed in their being and everything that they're feeling.
For Outlook TV, this is Angus Pratt at the Vancouver International Film Festival for 2022.
And now we're off to Edmonton for a bit of a different story. Jewelers to the Queens?
Yes, there's 4 jewelers that make drag queen jewelry.
Awesome.
Drag queens have an expression where they say it takes a lot of money to look this cheap. But we're catching up with 4 Canadian drag jewelers who's proving that you can look very expensive at every single price point.
I do hair. The whole part of like drag when I first started was I wanted to do it all. So I've just got my feet, hands, and head wet and went in it all I can do. And I obviously like to shine, sparkle. I like to be seen across the room, so I thought, why not start making jewelry? I have made jewelry for both the winners of Drag Race Canada, Priyanka and Isis. I've had numerous other contestants on the show wear it, and currently on season 3, I have Chaos wearing a little bit of sparkles.
So I was actually buying drag jewelry from other vendors in Canada and the US, and I was just finding that it wasn't necessarily accessible, but also price point, it wasn't easy to essentially budget for it because you're paying huge prices for some products. So I wanted to make it more accessible to the average bar queen, as we call it, that gets paid $30 for a gig and 2 drink tickets. So we wanted to make it more accessible, but also still keep like the quality there. I would say we've worked with probably about 150 of the Drag Race queens from various franchises. Peppermint, Bob the Drag Queen, Eureka, Shangela. Like we've worked with a lot of those people that have been on the show.
I got started, I think, about 10 years ago. I was fixing jewelry for everybody. Being a past emperor of Calgary, we bought everything, and then there was nobody in the West to fix it. So I started fixing it for everybody, and it just progressed into making my own, because then I didn't have to buy it. I'm not as big as a lot of them. I like being very custom with my customers, so I do a lot of orders that just one-ups. I have a very, very small table, so I don't ever have a lot, because I would rather have a custom piece for my client than a stock.
Cyprian has been in business for 25 years, and the pieces themselves are all set with Australian crystal, the brand we're not allowed to mention, and each piece is plated in either gold or in rhodium. So that basically depends on the stone. So most of the crystal is set in rhodium, and a lot of the brighter, more unique colors like the gold and the AB are set in gold. Pretty much every drag queen has a piece of Cyprian of something. A drag queen either has 1 or 2 pairs of earrings, a brooch, a headpiece, a necklace, something of Cyprian. Almost every drag queen from 25 years ago to now has a piece. To buy it, you get addicted to the shine, you get addicted to wanting more. It really is an addiction.
Blinded by the bling, my name is T for Outlook TV.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Outlook TV. Thanks so much for joining us, though, and Angus and I will be back very soon.
And feel free to join us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more.
Or come volunteer with us. We do love us a good volunteer. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Angus Pratt.
Stay safe, Canada.